Hey everybody, it's Mike here again with more Excel tips and tricks. Today we're going to talk about pivot tables. What they are, when you use them, why you use them, and how to use them. So basically, pivot tables are one of the most powerful things you can do in Excel. It's very important for people that are in like analyst roles. I'm in an analyst role myself, and I use it all the time. So very important. If you want to look at large chunks of data and you want to, dissect it and figure out, okay, hey, what's driving this? What's driving this? Whether it's SKUs or departments or, just a mistake or something. So you're going to find out how to dig deeper into the data, especially when you got lots and lots of data you're looking at. Like could be 100,000 rows, could be a million or so. So right here we're looking at just our little sample data that you should be familiar with if you're looking at my prior videos. So we use this sample data a lot. So we have first name, last name, department, salary, bonus, and our total. So total is blank right now, but we can either fill it in here and add salary plus bonus. But hey, we'll do it in the pivot table. Pivot tables are powerful. We can just do it in there. So I like showing everybody different ways of doing things. Everybody's like, oh no, there's only one right way. There's actually a lot of different ways to do things, and that's why I like to show on my videos on YouTube. Whether it's being Excel related or lawn care, I do a lot of lawn care stuff. You can check out my lawn care videos also. But back to pivot tables. So let's say here's an example of when you'd actually use it. So let's say your manager comes up to you and says, hey, give me the departments that had. I want to see by department what the salary expense was, the total salaries. So in here we have mixes of data. So we have department 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it goes from 1, 2, 3, 4 down to let's just say 41, and then boom, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 again. So you need to add this 50,000 plus this 46,000, and it's not too hard here because you're looking at a very small sample set. But if you're looking at thousands of lines long, you're not going to be able to do this. So pivot table is definitely the answer. And this is just one of many different types of analysis you can do with it. So let's just dive into this example and find out the total salaries by department. So you're going to click anywhere inside of the data. You want to make sure there's no spaces in there. These are actually okay. I did this for an example. You want to make sure there's no spacing in between columns. That's the main thing. So if you have a space here and you try and do a pivot table and you select, let's just say this data here, Excel will give you an error message, say, hey, I don't want to do this. You don't have a title on this. You need a title on every single column that you bring into your pivot table. So make sure you have a heading on here, that's unique. It doesn't really have to be unique, but let's just say I had salary here and then I had salary here. So the way it would come in is salary and then salary. This would be changed to salary 2. And then if you have a third one called salary also, like you might have it with description. Maybe you have description here, description, and then, this description of the person's name. So the person's name could be description here, description 2, and then maybe description 3, which maybe for example could be first name, middle name, last name. Depending on how well the fields are named. So it's nice to keep them separate, and you want to make, like I said, so just keep a unique name on each one of these and make sure that you don't have any spaces, you don't have any blanks for the headers. All right, so click anywhere. You can click anywhere in the data and hit pivot table on the insert tab on the top of Excel and click pivot table on the far left. Now it'll automatically highlight the entire range of data until it hits either a blank on the right or a blank on the bottom, like an empty row or column. And it'll automatically select it for you. So it's going from B2 to G15. But you can also, if you want to be safe, people like to be safe nowadays, so we can just highlight this also. And actually I'm going to highlight this, for example, instead of bringing in total, just show an example later that we can calculate our own total without this, so we're not getting confused. And now, so there's the range I want. I highlighted it. Either way works, and you could ignore all this. You would use this, use an existing external data source. So if you're bringing in a sheet from, let's say, Microsoft Access or something like that, you would click here and then say, okay, I want to bring it in from somewhere else. But we want to keep it, right here because this is our data set. Like I said, 99% of the time you're going to do this. So it's very, very rare to do that outside of Excel. And then says down here, where do you want the pivot table to be placed? Okay, do you want it on a new sheet? So if you click the new sheet, this is by default. It'll open up a new tab for you. Or you can say, hey, if you had existing location, existing worksheet, you could just say, hey, I want the same tab and I want to start right here. So just click anywhere you want and the pivot table will be created right there. But I want a new worksheet. Let's keep it clean and easy. This is how it's going to come up by default and you won't need any of this. And let's hit OK, and this is what will happen. So it created a second tab. It's called Sheet 2 down here. And now we can dive in. So the way this looks is kind of confusing. This is something new in the later versions of Excel. I want to say 2010. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong. I think around 2010 is when they changed the pivot table layout. I like to go into the pivot table, so the way I like to start them out, it's a little more intuitive, a little easier. So I right click anywhere inside of this pivot table and click on pivot table options. And then this is just the name of this name of the pivot table. Doesn't really mean much unless you're going to have multiple things and you're linking to it, but ignore this for now. Let's go to the display tab, the third tab over. And it says, see this middle checkbox, classic pivot table layout. So this says it enables the dragging and dropping feature. So this is really nice to have, and I'll show you why. So right now, you can just literally see all these fields, and this came from our data set. We got our first name, last name, department, salary, and bonus. So now we can take any of these. Let's say we want to look at department, and we can just left click the department and drag it over to the left. And you see how the cursor, not the cursor, but the box changes. See how this big box around here, see how it got bolded? And now it's on the left and it got bolded over here, bolded over on top, or you can have it up on top here. And it shows you what it is. So these are your value fields. So in case you have dollars or something that you're gonna add or subtract or do any of those functions, you can do it there. Like you wouldn't put a text field really in the value fields here. So that's an easy way to figure out what goes where. I mean, you could in some instances, but for this basic, let's say call it pivot table part 1 lesson, you won't want to. And then you got your columns here and your rows here, just like a normal table would be. And if you clicked off of it somewhere, hey, your pivot table's gone. No, you can tell it's still there. So let's look at let's try and answer our question. So department salaries, salary expense by department. So let's drag this onto the left because we want to see on the left side. You could also do it in the columns. So there's our departments. Now pivot tables will automatically strip out duplicates. So remember we had department 1, 2, 3, 4. It was listed once and twice on our table. Excel doesn't care. The pivot table doesn't care at all. So it's only to list it once. It does not want to repeat things because pivot tables are mainly used for, you want to add stuff together and also keeping things unique. So that's what we're going to do here. So we're going to look at department here, and then we're going to let's just do it the easy way. So we're going to drag over salary here into the fields because it's $1. And then so you're going to see it's called, so we have department here, totals here, and it's a little misleading the way it's showing. It's a total here, but it's summing salary. See where it says sum of salary? So that is your totals here. So now if you wanted to format it a different way, like because I want to see commas or dollar signs in these, just right click anywhere in the any of the dollars here, just right click, you go to value field settings, and then right now you want it to sum. You could also, hey, I want to take the average. You can do count. You can do max. Give me the max of the department. You can do a lot of strange and more advanced type of things, but Again, 99% of the time, you're going to use some. Once in a while, count will be used, but those are pretty much the only two that's usually used. Now let's go to number format on the bottom left, and then we can change it to, let's say, we want to look at currency. We don't want to see any decimal places. Do we want a symbol? Sure, why not? And that will change it all the way through. And you're probably asking me, hey, Mike, why can't I just click dollar signs here? Doesn't it do the same thing? Yes, it does, but there's a nuance with this. If I were to, let's say, bring in first name or something, sometimes I've seen it where it'll only do it for that first column that you did it on. So just something to be careful on. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But if you right click on the field, like we did, that's a guarantee. Let me undo that. Let me put that back in real quick. Field value settings, number format, currency, no decimals. Okay. So now we have our answer for our manager, right? You want to know what the salary expense is for by department. So department 1, 2, 3, 4, biggest expense of $96,000. I'll just make this bigger so everybody can read it. Okay. So now one more thing we're going to do. So now let's say we wanted to add in the bonus also. So if we bring in the bonus, we can click this in here also, but that's not going to be the best look. It's okay. I don't want you to get too overwhelmed. So we're going to have, so now we have our salary and our bonus here. If you didn't want to see where it says sum of, because 99% of the time you're going to use sum, you're not going to use count or anything, you can right click and then do value field settings. And then this is where you're going to change it. So you cannot change it to just the word salary because of the fact that that already exists over here. So it basically comes from your data set. So what I like to do is just do a salary and then hit space. And then no one's the wiser. I'll do the same thing with bonus, just for the hell of it. I'll do bonus in front. I'll put a space in front of it. And, oops, excuse me. Oops, wrong book. All right. So there's my bonus. And I'm going to change this back to currency. And what the heck, for this one, I'll keep the decimals in. Why not? I mean, not going to hurt. Show you I can take all different things. So now, we're going to take this one step further. And we're going to say, hey, I want to know what let's say your manager comes up with a follow-up question. Say, hey, I want to know what the bonus by department is, bonus percentages of salary, as a percentage of salary. So, for instance, I wanted to say, hey, this 4,900 over 49,000 is 10%. So I wanted to see that in here. So sure, you can, do equals this, or I'm sorry, this divided by this, and say, okay, it's 7%, and drag down. But we don't want to do it like that. We want to do it inside the pivot table so it's constantly changing. Because if we, we moved this, or we added a first name, we wanted to see department, and then first name, now the empty column is column E instead of column D. So your data would all get hosed up. So I don't want that to happen. So I want it all in the pivot table so everything is dynamic and constantly changing. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to Analyze on the top of your toolbar. And then click on Field, Item, and Sets up here. So now we're going to go Calculated Field, very, very top one. And then we're going to say, okay, we're going to call this, what's the name? We're going to call it bonus percent of salary. And the formula says, okay, what kind of formula you want to use? And what I want to do is I want to double click on bonus. These are your options because you're saying you want it to be dynamic based upon the fields that you've already used. And then I'll do divided by, so I'm going to hit the slash. and make sure it's the forward slash, which is also the question mark. And then you do bonus divided by salary. So that's going to be our formula. And now you want to hit add. So there it is down there. And you can hit OK. And boom, there it is right there. So you can ignore the fact that it's summing it. It's not really summing it. It's just, it has to choose something. So that is how to do that. Now we want to change this because we don't want to look at this. This is a weird number because it's, decimal goes all the way out. So we want to right click anywhere in the data, right here, it doesn't really matter. Value field settings again. Keep it as sum, doesn't matter because we're not summing anything. It's not coming from the data source itself, so we can change that to just call it bonus, or we'll call it space bonus because we can't use the same name again as we talked about. So right click in here, do the number format again, and percentage, and we'll do 1 decimal here. Hit OK, and there we are. That answers the follow-up question of how much is our bonus percentage of a percentage of salary. So it looks like if I'm looking at this data, okay, hovers around 10%, but hey, this department 1236 is 14, their bonus is 14.4% of their salary. Are they getting paid too much? Why are they so incentivized? Or are they doing better because of the performance? What's the reason versus this 5.7 department? So I'd want to look into that, and I can do it really quickly like that. Now, if I want to take this even one step further, if I don't want to see, because I don't want to print out anything with error message. This is an Excel error message saying, hey, I'm trying to divide by 0. I don't want to see any of that in my report, especially if I send it to my manager. I'm going to look like a fool. So it's just not clean. Zeros are fine, but I don't want to see an error message because people that don't understand Excel think, okay, this is an error. Maybe you messed up a formula, Mike, or what happened. But it's actually not. We know why. It's because it's dividing by 0. You can't take 0 divided by 0 and get a number. So what we're going to do is we're going to right-click anywhere in the table. It can be here, it doesn't really matter. And we're going to go back to the pivot table options, which is where we started. And then we're going to click in the first tab where it says for empty cells. So if it's empty, we can show, let's say we show 0 or we show blank. But we're not interested in that right now. That's just something you will use in the future. For error values show, that's what we care about. So instead of this division of 0, we're going to change the error messages to say, okay, we can call it 0 also because realistically it's not a number. 0 divided by 0 is not a number, it's an error. So we're going to change this to a 0. So now you see how that just went to a 0. I'll undo it so you can see again, division divided by 0. Back to 0. So that is something you will definitely use in the future, or you should use if you want to keep everything nice and clean. And then there's one more thing I wanted to mention back in this pivot table options report. If let's this next tab, these are I'm just going through the brief, few things that you're going to use. Most of you aren't going to use the printing, the data. You're not going to use a lot of these other tabs. You're only going to use a few on here. Like I like to click this button. Some do, some don't. Depends on when you learned Excel. But I learned Excel way back when when pivot tables just started coming out. And I like that classic drag and drop, kind of like the old Windows. I still use my Excel Windows. I don't the old school Windows. I mean, I would be using the oldest Windows possible if I could, but I don't have any of those apps on my desktop or anything like that. Definitely not in the newest Windows versions. I think a lot of you will agree with me on that. So the only thing I'm going to mention here is that these two tabs on this totals and filters. So these two are the only things that you'll probably also use. So if I don't want to see grand totals for rows or columns, if I want to take them off, like I don't want this total here on the bottom, see where it says this 8%, 8.8%. Because it doesn't mean anything to me. I don't want to show a total on my report, so I can just unclick that. You can unclick them both, and you can see the difference. So, and there it is. So now I no longer have a total because some things it may not make sense to have a total. Sure you're adding things, but maybe if you're taking averages or something like that, sometimes it just doesn't make sense. And like I said, when you're playing with pivot tables, it's always good. Everything you do, it's always good to check your work. Make sure you do it. You can do it offline if you're not comfortable. You're putting in this percentage and you're not sure. Hey, did this really calculate properly? So I like to do that on the side just to make sure. So to verify the 7.2, I'm gonna click okay, 69,000, excuse me, divided by the salary is the same 7.2. I change this back, and then I drag down. And now you can see this formula up here. So the very first one, I have a C5 divided by B5. This you should all be familiar with if you're doing pivot tables by now. But a lot of you are going to get, if it's the first time doing a pivot table or you haven't changed some of your settings in Excel, you will not see this. You will see something called it would be like an equals, and it'll say get pivot or get pivot data. That's something I would say 99% of you should not be using, because it's linked to the whole table, and then you can't just drag formulas down, especially from other tabs. It's not friendly. It's not very friendly. So the way you get to this level, which is right now, this is saying, hey, treat it like a normal cell, whether it's over here. It doesn't have, who cares if it's part of a pivot table? So the way you change that is you go to the file on the very top left, and you go to Excel options here, on the very bottom left. And then you click on the second one, it's called formulas. And this box right here, where it says working with formulas, use get pivot table data, get pivot data functions for pivot table references. So normally Excel automatically has this checkbox. So if I did, I'll just show you a real quick example. So if I did the same exact formula, equals this divided by this. See how scary that formula just got? Again, we could talk about this future if there's any interest, but I highly doubt there's even any interest in it. But basically, it's going back and going to basically the sample data. It's saying, okay, you want your department number, your bonus as this. So it's just a lot scarier. You don't need to use it, and when you drag it over and drag it down, it gets all funky. So just trust me on this, guys, and undo this checkbox here. So we'll undo that together again. We'll go to formulas and uncheck this box. Very important. All right, so that is how you do pivot tables. I guess one last thing, just in case if you wanted to see how this looks, I'll do it one more quick time. So I'm going to do insert pivot table. I'll do it to a new sheet again. And now I'm not going to do the drag and drop methodology, even though the drag and drop is very nice because I can move around different things. Like if I wanted to, let's say I wanted to get rid of department, I wanted to bring department up on the filter here. So my filter's on top now. So here's my data, and now I can bring in, let's say I care about last names right now. So those are all my last names by salary. I could also filter here and say, hey, I only want to see department 1, 2, 3, 6, and then hit OK on that. So now it's all going to be a subset of 1, 2, 3, 6. So these are the only 2 people that are in this department based upon our sample data. And this is their equivalent bonus and salary. Now, if you hit this select multiple items, I can select, hey, I care about all 3 of these departments for whatever reason. And then you hit OK, so it'll give you all 3 departments. See, it says multiple items, it won't show you the individual numbers this time. Or if you say, hey, I still want all, I want to see all. And then all will come back. If you have it as all, it's basically like you didn't even bring it in. Using a filter with all is like not even bringing it in. And again, I like the drag and drop so much better. It's just so much cleaner. If I wanted to bring this in, I'm going to get rid of a few of these to make it a little more friendly. So I'm going to get rid of bonus. I'm going to get rid of this bonus percentage. So now I just have salary. Now I'm going to drag department from up here, and I'll get rid of it for now. Anytime you move it outside of the pivot table, see how there's a little on the bottom right of my cursor, there's an X. So if I move it anywhere outside of here, versus in here. See how it's not an X here? It's just a, an icon. I move it out here, it goes back to here. So, which is the same thing as if I were to grab department over here, and I could unclick it also over here, and it'll also get rid of it. But I like just dragging and dropping. So let's move our. Oops, excuse me. Let's grab department from the top left here, which is in the filters right now, and let's drag it to the very top section. A lot of the top section people will be using for, like, if you wanted to see, okay, I want to see their names, their salaries, and then I want to see all the months of the year going across. That's a very common time you use it, or years going across, a lot of time going across. So I'm going to put it in this top box here, which is going to be our columns. And you see what happens? This data automatically jumped, and now it's, so you can see, okay, if I looked at Doe as a last name, they're in department 1237 at $49,000. And again, it's the sum of it all. So if in case I have two people with the last name, I'm not sure if I do or not in this sample list, but it'll sum it together. So very nice feature to have. I mean, you see how quickly you can slice and dice the data. And if I didn't want to see, if I wanted to see, hey, is there more than one person in this group? I can grab department from up here again, and then click on the bottom left here, like see where the cursor is there versus here. So I want to move it to the far left, and now it's going to do department. So I like to say by when I'm going down. So it's by department and then by last name. So boom, 1, 2, 3, 4. This department has the last name of Dressy and Smith in it. There's their salaries, and then it gives you a total. If you don't want to see all these individual totals, because it will total whether there's one or more. So here's 1, 2, 3, 7. It's only one record, and it's going to show a total. So if I say, hey, I don't care about the totals, I just want to see how many people are in each one, then what I do is I just I right-click on department number and go to field settings. See, field settings are going to go there a lot, people, and then hit none instead of automatic. Automatic is what it's going to be defaulted on. Hit OK, and boom, I got rid of my totals. So this is the cleaner way to do it. Very easy to find, that each department has multiple different people in there. Now, I will say one thing, that if you have two different fields that you're bringing in here, like department and last name, when you try and sort this, it usually gets messed up saying, hey, it's only going to sort by person that's in this department. So you see how this goes here. So this changes from Dressy to Smith. It reverses. So this is the data, and then I'm sorting. I go into the data tab and I hit this A to Z or Z to A. I'm just sorting it back and forth. So I don't really want that. I like to say, hey, I want to see. So let's just get rid of last name. And so I want to see. No, you can either highlight it. You don't have to highlight. You can highlight anywhere in here, and it'll do it properly. It won't mess up on you. And we hit. Let's say I wanted to say largest to smallest. So now it's largest to smallest, and I don't have to worry about, okay, it's two different fields that's coming in, or lowest to smallest. There it is. See how quickly and simply this can be. But if you really want to, you can have as many as you want. If you want to see the first name, their last name, we'll bring in last name. We'll bring in first name. You could put it on the far left. You could put it in the middle. You could put it on the far right. Doesn't really matter. I like to put it in the middle because I like to read department and then first name, last name, or better yet, we can have department at the end. You can just left click and drag it. So as long as it's in this box on the left. Remember I talked about in the beginning, we had 3 different boxes. We had this box over here for value, which I'll show you right here. Again, I'll get rid of everything that we currently have, and we'll unhide salary. Remember these 3 boxes, that's the most important thing. So you have to be in these sections that you're using. Okay, everyone, now that we did the classic pivot table layout like I love to do, I like the old school method, let's figure out how to do the other method, which is the new advanced way from, I think it's like 2010 of Excel on. So let's go back to insert pivot table, same way we did before, sure. And now the stuff on the right, So we can't drag and drop like we did before. Let's try and do the same thing where we looked at salary, total salary by department. So I see if I left click over here and drag, see how I get this little circle I call like the no smoking circle. We get that circle with a slash in it. So you don't want that. It won't let you do anything. So what you're gonna have to do is do department and left click and drag. And see these 4 boxes down here? This is what's gonna make your pivot table for you. So you're going to drag and drop here instead of drag and dropping over here. So let's move that into our rows. That's how we had it before. And you just have to know, okay, rows are going sideways and columns go up and down. Yeah, I know it's some people mix them up, but it's kind of like knowing left from your right. Hey, like I said before, I'm a very lazy kind of guy, as whenever I can be. The more work Excel can do for me, the happier I am. All right, and let's move salary, because salary is our dollar figure. Let's move that into the bottom right section, the values. And there's our population there. And just for the heck of it, let's move last name also into rows. So I'm going to move it. I can move it in the top section above department. See this little bold line? And see how it goes up and down. So I'm going to move it to the very bottom so it goes below department. You see how interesting this looks now? So I don't really like this view because see in column A now, I have the department number 1, 2, 3, 4, and I also have last names of Dressy and Smith in there. In the old pivot table layout, column A was 1, 2, 3, 4, and column B was Dressy and Smith, and column C was his salary. So it's not clean in my opinion at all. One of the things I like to do a lot is hit Control down and find spaces in my data. I'll get to that in future videos. You can use Control down or up or right or left, and you can quickly move around in your data set. It shows you blanks and stuff like that, or the end of your data ranges. So in this, I will mention that in this view, not using the pivot table. Classic pivot table like I did before. So you can use these little collapse icons over here on the left and the right. See how when I hit this minus and the plus, I no longer see Dressy or Smith. If I hit the minus, say, hey, I don't want to hide. It's basically like hiding the rows, but it's technically not hiding. It's actually taking them out. So because see now it's row 4 and row 5, but if I hit plus, row 5 for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for 1, 2, 3, 5, goes to row 7. So it actually, when you hit this, it actually takes them out kind of, but keeps the total in there, and the total on the bottom will not change. It keeps the same. So that's definitely a nice feature to have. If you wanted that, let's say in this example, we wanted to show the department total, but we don't want to show these 2 people's salary information because maybe this report's going out to someone and they're not supposed to see, could be classified information. So you'd want to show it. Okay, I just want to hide that. And nobody knows the salary split of these 2 people now. So it's nice. Together they make $96,000. And let me just make this a little easier to read. I like this. I always like things with commas. So commas and dollar signs, something like that. All right. And this is how you do the new pivot table view. And I'll also mention you can also do your filters also here. So I'll drag first name over here. So if I wanted to look at the same view, then I wanted to do, let's see, I want to see, so I'm going to do select multiple. Now I'm going to take out Mike. I don't want to see anybody with the first name Mike. Such a horrible name, so we're going to get rid of it. So now I no longer have any last names of people that start with Mike. So like Mike Swanson in our data set here and Mike Simpson here. So these people are no longer in our data set. So if we want to, we can undo that. And if let's just say we want to look at, now we want to look at only people that are named Mike. And we wanted to bring in bonus also. You could bring in bonus. And we'll put it also as a filter. So for filter, really doesn't matter if you put it top or bottom. It doesn't matter at all. You can put as many filters here as you pretty much want to. So my bonus, let's say, okay, I want to figure out if anybody's making $3,000. But now keep in mind, both of these filters are active. I like to call these like where. I like to call them where criteria. When I'm doing a lot of reports, this is just common terminology that I like to use. So this is technically first name, so this is technically first name where it's equal to Mike, and the bonus where it's equal to $3,000. And in our data set, nobody with the first name of Mike has a $3,000 bonus. So that's that. And let's see, one more thing I'll show you. Let me undo this, and then let me and again, see, I can't drag stuff over. So I hate that, to be honest. I want to just drag this and put it over here. You know, it's such a habit of mine, and you can tell how long I've been doing this. I've been doing it for so many years now. So I'm gonna drag it over here. I like to use my old school methodology. Like I said, I love Excel working hard for me. You know, I work hard enough. We'll let Excel work for me and work a little harder, right? So now I have them going sideways, and let me go back into my old view here, because I want to show you an example. Because I don't like the fact that that my names and my departments are all lumped together in one cell or in one column. So I'm gonna go back to my old view and show you an example of how you use this data. What did I even click? Sorry, class of pivot table layout. Okay, so now I have my spacing here, like first column, second column. I like that, because now what I can do is I'm going to take this data, and let's say I wanted to sort this, because like I said before, if you have more than one text field here on the left side, you cannot sort it properly. The only way it'll sort it is within itself. So it'll sort these two, and then it'll sort this section here. You know, it'll sort them one by one. So it sorts them by grouping at a time. So it's not very, friendly, intuitive for what I'm looking for to do. You know, and I actually don't want to see these totals here either. So what I'm going to right click on department, go to field settings. We've done this in the last section, and we'll hit none. And here's my data. Now I'm going to take this, bring it to a new sheet, and you'll see why in a second. This is the way I sort it. Might be a better way, but this is definitely the quickest and easiest way. I'm going to go to a brand new sheet. So let's just right click here. Okay, I have department, and now if I wanted to sort it, that would be a problem. And let's see if you can pick up on why that is. Here it is. If I sort it, let's say I sort on salary, and I want to see who's making the most money. Look at that. See the problem here? Smith is, but hey, what department is he in? I don't know anymore because let me undo that. So because of this problem here. So like I said, pivot tables, they don't repeat the data twice. You know, it's all about being unique in there. So if it's in there twice, it's just going to say, hey, you can tell by looking at it that here's the department. It's only going to show up if it repeats. So if, this could be, let's say there was a lot of these people, a lot of Wongs, and they're all under the same department. It will not repeat. It'll still always show blank here. So that's just an example. So I don't want to sort. How are we going to sort this data now? You're thinking. So right here, this is going to be how to remove it. So I'm going to do an if statement. So type in equals if, and if you have not watched my if videos, make sure you watch it. Very good stuff there. I use the if probably every day. Okay. So actually, I'm getting ahead of myself. So the first row to get rid of these spaces is I'm going to do equals, and then you just click on that department number. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and now I'm going to do my if statement on the second line. So if this cell, so if this blank cell here equals, and then I'm going to do double quotes. That's why I have 4 kind of quote lines, and then do comma. This reads as if B5 equals blank. That's how you write blank, is you write the double quotes. So if it's blank, then what you want to do is you want to say, hey, repeat the name that's already above it. So, and then I'll do comma. So if B5 equals blank, then A4 else, that's what the comma means, else you would click on B5. So that's what I want. So, so if this is this way, it's saying, hey, if this is blank, then go here and say, click on, give me this. But if there's a value here or a text, give me what that is. So that's why. So if I drag down now, there it is. See, it will pick up. It will pick up only when it changes, and it'll change it. Otherwise, it's going to repeat the same value. So now that I have that, that's the way you do it when you copy move the data. Now I'll move department over. I'm going to copy. I'm going to right click paste special on this, and then I'm going to get rid of this because this is not clean. Now that I have a clean sample set here, there's no blanks and stuff like that, I know each person is related to a department. Now I can go to sort and let me take my headers off. All right, I'm going to sort on column C and give me the largest to smallest. Boom, there we go, Mike Smith. And let me get this in a nice view with commas like everybody can see. And there I am, salaries. There's a salary, my bonus. Now I can easily see that Smith is making $50,000 and what department he's in. If you guys like this, have any other questions, comments, feel free, shoot me a message. Thanks, guys.